Welcome to Kicking Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb with host Christina Nation, the ultimate guide for parents navigating the challenging yet rewarding journey of raising teenagers. Join your host Christina as she dives deep into the world of adolescence, tackling everything from academic pressures and social dynamics to mental health and independence. So please, welcome the host of Kicking Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb, Christina Nation.
Good morning and welcome to Kick Your Teen's Troubles to the Curb. I'm your host, Christina Nation, and today I have a good friend of mine, an amazing parent coach that I'm excited to have a conversation about how to yell less. Yes, how many of us need that? All right, so today I am welcoming my dear friend and coach, Claire Chuddy. Claire is a PCI certified parent coach and positive parenting educator, also known as the Yell Less Mom Coach. She is certified and trained with CPC as a corporate paid leave coach. Claire helps moms struggling with frustration, anger, and yelling learn how to be calmer, more confident, and connected to their kids, especially in the challenging moments. She is a stepmom and mom of 4 flown and grown young adults and currently lives in California with her husband Nate and fur baby Bella. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so excited about our topic today and having you on the show because I myself am a former yeller.
Mm.
And I often work with parents who struggle in this area. So I'm super
Mhm.
excited for you. And I know for me, I was, a single mom of 4 and overwhelmed and stressed out. And luckily for me, I found positive discipline. And
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
yeah, that's what really helped me to, start what I call increasing that space where I could take that pause and take a moment to regain my center and be able to respond rather than yelling. But I can't
Mhm.
wait to hear all of the amazing tips that you have for us. But before we get into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about how you became the Mom Less coach?
Not your last mom coach. First I love what I want to share the idea of what you just said about creating that pause, right?
Mm,
Because oftentimes you hear, okay, if you're feeling, there's just pause. And it's like, yeah, that's great, but how do I do that? Because it's right. So it's the idea of
mhm,
how do you actually pause,
right.
right? So how I started my journey to becoming the OLS mom coach. Well, let's say back in 2003, kind of like what you're saying, like that you stop yelling. It was a day in July 2003, and I used to say, "Oh, it was not my finest parenting moment," but now I call it what it was, and it was rage. And I found myself having thrown the phone across the room and
Mm,
watched it hit the side of the wall and just shatter. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, what happened to that pause, right?
right.
And then I looked down to my left, and there's my kiddo at the time who was 5 looking up at me with these eyes, and I was just like, "Oh my gosh." And it was like me at the age of 5 looking at my mom in her rage.
Mhm,
And I remember the moment like, "Oh my gosh. If I wanna have a
mhm.
real relationship with my kids, I've gotta do something about this rage, my relationship with rage." And so that literally is where it began. I would love to say it changed overnight, but no.
Right.
But this is before Google. This is before Shafat, all the move, like all that. Parenting information is so available right now. I all I have is like, I don't want this. I want this. I just don't know how. A lot of therapy. There's a lot of therapy involved, but I'm really happy to say that I was able to change those patterns, that relationship with Ray that I was having, and building more parental resilience, and being able to be the yell less mom that I wanted to be. And I wanted to point out that I call it yell less because one of the reasons why we're yelling is we have such high expectations upon ourselves to always do the right thing, do the things, like never make a mistake. And that is add to our overwhelm. So so that's why I never say yell never.
Right.
Because what if you yell? Then all of a sudden you're a failure, right? So I say yell less.
Right.
And you can actually get to a place where you can say, I don't remember the last time I yelled. You'll get angry and you'll get frustrated, right? That's all part of the parenting journey. But what you do with that turns out to be a different pattern rather than falling into that yelling or chucking a phone across the room. So I love showing mom today now who are in that same place. They know it needs to change. They've read all the books. They've watched all the TikTok videos, right? They know the thing, but it's just not working. And it's likely a skill. It's likely the knowledge of how.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I love that you're going to, share some of those tips with us today, because that's what I get from a lot of parents is like, I know I don't want to yell. I know I shouldn't yell, but how do I stop yelling? How do I take that pause when it feels like, the behavior happens and just like that, I'm yelling. Like there's no time, there's no space to take that deep breath. So what is some of your tips for like I said earlier, taking that pause? What helps us create that moment where we can take that breath?
Yeah. Well, I would say that it really is different from person to person. So we want to make sure that we know that there isn't a checklist and do these 5 things and you're good to go. Because if that was the case, we'd all be doing this thing perfectly, right? So it's really, right? So it really is, people probably have heard of become aware, like, okay, that's great, but really it is about noticing, like, because oftentimes the brain is reacting to what is perceiving as danger. And so there's a good reason for that, right? So when we are out there and with the danger, we pull the child away from the road, or like we're reacting, and we want that quick, not out of the blue, like lickety split reaction. Most times, however, when we're hearing there's no space, I'm just there are signs and signals showing up that you're approaching that place. That makes sense?
Yeah.
So we are wanting to become aware of that. We can do that by noticing body sensations. We can do that by noticing our default pattern. In fact, when I was on this journey, my husband's the one that pointed out to me that when I am about to get really angry, I stamp my feet. Like, did you know that you stamp your feet? And I'm like, what are you talking about? But then I was like, oh my gosh, I wasn't aware of that. And so stamping my feet was an indicator that my body and I was leaving the green zone and entering what's called the red zone, and I was about to lose my mind, right? So indicators are there that you're approaching. And then when you become aware of that, you can learn how to start catching yourself before you get to that boop.
Right.
Point. Yeah.
That's so important.
That's just one way, right? Yeah.
Yeah. I know for me, it was, I was, like I said, a single mom, and I was overwhelmed and stressed out. And so that made it that I had a shorter fuse, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so for me, a lot of it was learning to say no to
Yes.
something and,
Yes.
and not put so much on my plate and realize that I was a I was enough and I was a person of value and I was a good mom, even if I didn't do all the things. Like
Mm-hmm.
nowadays, we feel so much pressure to do it all, to be
Yeah.
all. Even as a single parent, I was trying to be, mom, dad, and booster president and volunteer the soccer mom and like do all
Yeah.
the things.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
how much do you think that self-care plays a role in?
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Yes. So that's funny that you've been, because there's a talk that I do. It's called, Breaking Generational Patterns, Moving from Parental Rage to Parental Resilience. And I share 3 key stories that transformed my parenting journey. And the first one you heard already. I gave you the short version of me checking the phone across the room. The second one is coming down with, I'll shorten the story, but it was in November, actually, the same year. Um, and I thought I was having a stroke one night, and it turns out it was Bell's
Mhm.
palsy. And the next
Mhm.
day, I go to the doctor, and the doctor's like, "Oh wow, yeah, that's cool. You've Bell's palsy." And then she said to me, "Do you have any stress in your life?" I'm like,
Mhm.
"Okay, 4 kids, like doing all the things, right?
Mhm.
School, going back to nursing school. Like I like had listed all of these things because that's what I thought I should be doing, to be the good wife, the good daughter, the good mom, the good friend, the good woman, and like all the things."
Right.
And she said to me, she said, there's this word, no. I
Mhm.
I suggest you start using it. And I literally was just like, "What are you talking about? Like, how would you
Mhm.
eat? I have to do all these things." And you know what? No, that's not true. So learning how to say no was the second lesson that I learned to become the calmer mom and the mom I wanted to be.
Mhm.
By saying no to certain things, I was able to open up space to say yes to things that better serve me and my kids. And learning how
Yes.
to say no as a people pleaser, which many of us are, right?
Mhm.
It's very difficult to do because we do not want to disappoint anyone.
Right. Right. It's so key.
Mhm.
All right. Well, I'm so excited to have you here. We are about to take a break.
Okay.
Is Kick Your Teens Troubles to the Curb. And I have Claire Chuddy with me today. So we're going to take a quick sponsor break and we'll see you in just.
Mike Zorek, a 3-time California state champion in Greco-Roman wrestling at 114 pounds. Mike, blind since birth, was born in Hartford, Connecticut. He was a 6-time national placer, including 2 seconds, 2 thirds, and 2 fourths. He also won the Veterans Folk-Style Wrestling twice at 152 pounds. In all these tournaments, he was the only blind competitor. Nancy Zorek, a creative spirit whose talents have taken her to the stage and into galleries and exhibitions in several states. Her father, a commercial artist who shared his instruments with his daughter and helped her fine-tune her natural abilities, influenced her decision to follow in his footsteps. Ms. Zorek has enjoyed a fruitful career doing what she loves. Listen Saturday mornings at 12 Eastern for the Nancy and Mike Show for heartwarming stories and interesting talk on the BBM Global Network.
Are you struggling to care for elderly parents or a spouse? Do you wonder if being a caregiver is making you sick? Are you worried about taking time off work to care for elderly parents and balance work, life, and caregiving? Has caregiving become exhausting and emotionally draining? Are you an aging adult who wants to remain independent, but you're not sure how? I'm Pamela D. Wilson. Join me for the Caring Generation radio show for caregivers and aging adults, Wednesday evenings, 6 Pacific, 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern, where I answer these questions and share tips for managing stress, family relationships, health, well-being, and more. Podcasts and transcripts of the Caring Generation are on my website, PamelaDWilson.com, plus my caregiving library, online caregiver support programs, and programs for corporations interested in supporting working caregivers. Help, hope, and support for caregivers is here on the Caring Generation and PamelaDWilson.com.
All right, welcome back to Kick Your Teens Troubles to the Curb. I'm your host, Christina Nation, and today my guest is Claire Chetty, and she is the mom, the Yell Less mom. So we are talking about how can we. I think many of us have asked ourselves, how do we go about yelling less, because we know we don't want to yell. We know it's not good for our kids and our relationship with kids. So, and we are streaming on Bold Brave TV. So thank you for being here. And thank you, Claire, for being here to help us figure out this. How do we self-regulate and yell less? So I did my community for some questions that they had for you. And I also want to let all of you that are here watching us live that at the bottom of the screen is that 1-800 number that you can call in and ask any questions that you have about this topic, and we will be happy to answer. So one of the questions I had is, particularly when we're having a conversation with our teen and it starts to get heated. And like you said, we're noticing some of those warning signs. We're feeling it in our body. What are some next steps we can take so that we can take that pause and not yell?
Yeah, I love that question. Having had 4 teens in my house, I get that scenario way more than you realize. Is the idea of when you're in it with your kids and then you start feeling that rising of the body heat, and just like I call it, the fire alarms are going off inside and you're like, oh my gosh, right? What I talk to parents of any ages really is the idea of learning how to drop the rope. And in this moment, right now, like, it feels like an emergency. Most times it's not an emergency. Like, if you was an emergency, you'd be dialing 911, right? And if we want to remember the relationship, we need to really be able to release that control and that pull to fix this right now. It's getting comfortable with the discomfort of this situation, especially with teenagers, right? Teenagers are now having their own thoughts, they're forming their own opinions, and it can be very stressful. And so dropping rope is like this image of the tug of war game. And really, it ends up becoming a power struggle. It ends up becoming a situation of you against me. And it's with any of our children, especially but the teenagers, we don't want to set up the environment that is you against me, right? So if you're feeling that rise and you're feeling that it's me against you kind of thing, this is where you want to drop her into the rope. And again, noticing that the body sensation, noticing the thoughts like, oh my gosh, like my kiddo is going to be XYZ 10 years down the line. I've got to stop this right now so that doesn't happen. And what we're doing in that place is we're creating a mental movie of something that hasn't even happened yet. And when we go there, then we end up parenting from there as if it's already happened. And we're missing the mark of what's happening right now. And so that's the point of the pause. So there's a couple of things I'm talking about here. One is noticing the body sensations, noticing the thoughts that you're having, maybe the panic, the anxiety, and being able to have the visual of, I'm going to drop my under the rope right now. right now. That does not mean that your kiddo gets to do whatever they want, that they get to come home at 12 instead of 11. Like, that's not what this is about. But this is about, like, putting down your envelope so that we can all de-escalate, so that we can continue to move forward in a more effective way. Right now, when we're engaging and it's getting hot, it's not effective. And so when we can drop our end of the rope, take that pause, maybe it might mean I'm going to step out for a moment because I really want to talk to you about this. And I want us both to be able to have the conversation in a calm, clear way. And we'll get back to this in a moment, right? That is completely okay to do. In fact, I highly recommend it if you really want to move forward and continue to engage. So that was what I call making a plan. So really, when you become familiar with the feelings of like what feels like to get panicked when you're talking to your teen, look, okay, when I feel this, then I'm going to have that visual of putting down my end of the rope and trust that doesn't mean I'm letting them get away with everything. I'm just choosing to stop so that I can create a pause so that I can move forward in a more effective way with my child, rather than staying in the power struggle here, escalation, disconnection, and we just get stuck in that cycle.
Yeah, I love that. Drop the rope. That's such a great visual, definitely. And I think you're right. And I hear that a lot, that a lot of parents feel like if they don't address it right in the moment, then they're letting them get away with it. And I love what you said too about paying attention to the thoughts that are going on in your head. And a lot of times we are, thinking about like, oh, if I don't deal with this right now, this and that's going to happen. And we start, thinking all of these horrible things down the line. And that's what gets us more escalated. So do you have any specific ways of kind of capturing those thoughts? And what do you do when you notice that you're having those thoughts?
That's really a great question, because we have what I think is like upwards of 60,000 thoughts a day that we're not even aware of, right? That just pass through, and what is it? Something like 80% of them are negative, with the brain job of keeping you safe and protecting you, right? And we're not even aware of what they are, right? So why is that important? Because to know that they're there and they're normal. So here's the thing: if you're catastrophizing and you're like making the mental movie, of course you are. You want your kiddos to be safe. You want them to be well received in the world, like all of it, and that's good. That's okay, right? But when we're in the moment and we're catastrophizing, we're again escalated. We're not thinking clearly, and we might be missing what they actually need right here, right now, in the moment. But to go back to your question about the thoughts, we have to think about it after. Right? So part of learning how to catch yourself, which is the letter C of the CARES approach that I have, is the thoughts is being able to, likely when you're first doing the work, you're going to be doing the work after you've lost your mind, right? Like after you've yelled. And we're in the letter A of CARES is assessing. We're going to take time, like, what were the body sensations? What were the feelings, et cetera, et cetera? And also, what were you thinking in that moment? And we're going to do this in a non-judgmental way. We're not going to beat ourselves up about it because that doesn't get us anywhere, right? Why do we have to make ourselves feel worse? Like Jane Nelson says, right? Why do we have to make our kiddos feel worse in order to do better? Like, it's the same for us as parents. But noticing your thoughts of what was I thinking in the moment? Well, I was worried that if if he or she keeps us up, that they're going to be doing this down the line, or I'm thinking that they're really being defiant and disrespectful, and they just need to learn a lesson, right? These are thoughts that we're having, and when we attach the thought to what our body feels like, right? So this is just all part of being able to be aware. So sometimes these thoughts, we have to kind of think about what our thoughts were. Is it serving us? How is it serving us in the moment? And we can also think like, okay, well, that's a thought you're having. That's a concern you have. That's okay to be like, okay, I don't want that to happen, but we're not going to act like it already happened and parent from that place. But we can start parenting. What do they need right now? What skills do they need? Developmental skills do they need in order to not have that happen down the line? And how do I guide them there? But the
Right.
thoughts are very tricky. They're tricky. So we have to
Yeah.
spend time thinking about what we're thinking about.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I love that. So that's, assessing after the fact, what were the thoughts that were coming up that triggered
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
rage, as you said, and then how can we go about, possibly reframing those
Yes.
thoughts, you know? A lot of times I feel like it's fear that's coming up, right?
Yeah. Oh,
Fear
yeah.
of
Mhm.
what could happen if this behavior continues, that and maybe it has a lot to do with, and you talked a little bit about generational patterns. Do you
Mhm.
think that a lot of these triggers that come up are have to do with our own our own issues that maybe we haven't dealt with, or things in the past, or behaviors that we've learned?
100%. I do. I really do. That was a big part of my own journey, was understanding those generational patterns, like how speaking of thoughts, like the way we were parented,
Mhm.
there are thoughts that we have as kiddos about that, and then there are decisions we make along the way, and those
Mhm.
decisions become our limiting beliefs. Okay, so that's kind of like people might be like, "What in the world are you talking about?" Right? But if you're a kiddo who is yelled at, and you're like, "Okay, I can't do that. Like, I can't have a big emotion because when I do that, they yell at me. So I need to hold that down so that I can
Mhm.
be accepted by them, right? Be safe in this environment."
Mhm.
Fast
Right.
forward to a teenager who's showing big emotions, or even a 3-year-old who's showing big emotions in your body, like what you have decided your belief is, that's not good. And your body will receive that as that's bad, let's shut this down. And we have an automatic trigger to that, right? So it's being able to understand. So it is also part of being able to make sense of our past and what's actually true for our situation now.
Mhm.
So my kiddos, when they were teenagers, like when one of my daughters in particular, there was a situation that I was really like, I was getting very triggered by.
Mhm.
And because I've been doing this work for a while, I recognized the trigger. I recognized the fact that I couldn't stay in a calm place while I was talking because I was so afraid. And I was like, well, what am I afraid of? And I would be able to like, oh, well, those were actually what happened to me as a teenager. And so I'm trying
Mhm.
to stop that from happening to her by saying, "No, you can't go," or "You can't do
Right.
this, you can't do that, no." And she's just like, "What?" And so her experience is completely different than mine, and that was part of what the journey of learning how to separate what's mine and what's hers. And just
Mhm.
because I had that experience didn't mean she would have it or that she was already having it. But how
Right.
could I parent her and be alongside her and guide her the best way I could so she didn't have that experience? But I was
Mhm.
acting as if, out of that fear and panic, I was in the past, right? So that makes sense.
Right.
So it really does, it really is important to also, in that moment of reflection, when we're looking at why am I behaving this way? Why is this upsetting to me so much? That letter A, really understanding like, well, because that happened to me and I don't want that happening to them. Of course you don't. Of course not.
Right.
But when we're parenting, like from that place of fear, we shut things down, and then they're like, "What are you doing?" They don't understand. Like, and so we want to get to a place of relationship focus and having conversations. And so fast forward to I was able to tell her, "Listen, I'm worried about these things. So what can we do to set you up in the environment to be safe? What can we put in place? What can we plan, et cetera, et cetera?" And so it's hard. I'm not going to say this is easy, but to answer your question, yes, your past experiences definitely play a role.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, we are about to take another sponsor break. So, again, you are here with us at Kick Your Teens Troubles to the Curb. I'm your host, Christina Nation, and we will be right back after the sponsor break.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Hello, and welcome back to Kick Your Teens Trouble Nation. And we are streaming on Bold Brave TV. And today, my guest on the show is Claire Chetty. So thank you for being here, Claire. I am, we've been having such a great conversation. We've talked about, how to yell less by first, um, learning to say no and implement self-care so we don't have such a short fuse. We've talked about how to, become aware of some of those warning signs, some of those triggers, how to reframe some of those thoughts that we might be having when we're feeling triggered. We've talked about how to take that pause, how to take that break, right? That we don't need to address everything in the moment, but that we can take that break. And when we are taking that break, what should we be doing, or and when should we return to the conversation?
That's a really good question. This is where it really starts getting really personal. Also, as about like when we take that pause, right? So we talked about creating a plan, right? So when this shows up in my body, then I'm going to take a pause, drop my end of the rope, and then I'm going to do what? And this is what I call creating space. That is different for everyone. Everyone, self-care, what works for one person may not work for another, right? One of the top things that does work and can be kind of, people will be like, okay, take a breath, okay, but it really is a powerful exercise to really learn how to take a very deep belly breath and that exhale out, because that gets that oxygen back up into your brain again. It really calms your nervous system. So really not underestimating the power of that. But sometimes taking that pause might mean just, you know what, I just need to go get a drink of water. I need to just step outside and get some cold, fresh air or warm, fresh air, the sunshine, right? I need to just walk around the block. I need to, whatever it looks like for you to get that pause. So that's what you need to figure out. That's the practice when we're doing this work. There are so many ways that we can do that. So there was a situation when I was with my daughter and we were having a conversation. And again, I felt the fire alarm's going off. I was really getting upset. I'm like, oh my gosh, if she thinks this, then that, like all the things. I mean, it's still, I mean, to this day, my kids are adults and I still have to catch myself, right? It does become easier, it becomes your new default pattern. But in that case, I remember saying to her, you know what, honey, I'm getting really upset. So I just need a break, right?
Mhm.
And so she's like, okay. The reason why she's like, okay, because this is how we've been doing things for a while. Your kid will get to know the process. So she just walked away and she went to her room. And I got up, I splashed water on my face. I kind of like, oh my gosh, okay, what am I upset about? Like, and I just kind of talked to myself. For me in that moment, it was just literally like getting up, moving my body, get that energy out. Like, what am I upset about? What do I want to gain from this? That's one way you can create that pause. And what do you do with that pause? And then when I'm like, okay, I can continue the conversation, I actually texted her and said, hey, it's okay, like, come on back, let's talk. And she's like, okay, and we came back and we continued the conversation. Was it solved that day? No. This is a conversation that took several conversations, right? But the idea is how do we move forward in a more effective way with our kiddos. So creating pause can look like what you do with that, I mean, can look many different ways. Managing a thought, taking a deep breath, getting a drink of water, putting water on your face, again, stepping outside, shaking your body, like just kind of like, whoo, okay, I'm like releasing that tension that you're feeling in your shoulders at the moment. Those are all things that we can do to help us regulate enough to move forward. Yeah. But it's creating a plan. What works for you? What you really have to try things out. Be willing to try new things. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I love, creating that plan beforehand so that when you do start to notice those, the triggers and being escalated and you're feeling the warning signs and you feel it coming up inside your body, then you have a plan. Okay, this is what I need to do to, you know, to take care of myself and to create that pause and to come back later. So, and
Yeah.
what happens when you have lost it and you did yell? Then what do you do?
Aside from feeling guilty and terrible and beating yourself up, which I highly recommend you don't do, but we all do it, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Which example should I choose from? Oh my goodness. First and foremost, as you know, in positive parenting, there's like the 3 R's to repairing, right? But there's a fourth one that I really love to start with is offer yourself some self-compassion. I mean, this is why I say you're less mom coach. It can happen and you're still okay. You're still a good mom. You're still a good dad. It's just, okay, that was not my finest parenting moment. Okay. And just, I'm doing the best I can with what I have right now. And this is part of this is part of the work after, like, what is it that I'm trying to do? What am I worried about? Like, just give yourself some self-compassion. You yelled for a reason. You got to a point where you likely didn't have the capacity. Your worry took the best of you. Like, there's human experience. But after that, I would say, really look at your mistake and own it. I yelled. I said something I shouldn't have said that was not a good thing to say. I behaved in a way I shouldn't have behaved. I threw a phone across the room, right? Like, just own that. Just own your mistake. You go to your child after the fact. We want to wait till we're all calm enough, right? And just say, you know what? Listen, I want to talk to you about that. I'm really sorry I threw the phone. That must have been really scary for you, right? I'm really sorry I said those things. It's not okay. There's no excuse for that. And I'm sorry. That must have felt really bad. I'll try to do better next time. Right? So you're reconnecting with them and you're owning your mistake and you're reconciling the situation with them. I really hope you understand that was about me and was not about you. It was my behavior. Parents will say, and I think a lot of parents will, I do apologize. I say sorry all the time. I want to invite people to think about, when you apologize, are you saying, gosh, I'm so sorry I did that, but really, you really, and you go right into what you should not do, why you, like, what made you do that. And when we do that, we're still putting the power back on your kiddos, making it their responsibility for how we behaved. You do not have to like their behavior, but you have to own your own, right? Like,
Right.
so we really do need to do that. And when we do that, our kiddos feel like, oh wow, okay, there is that reconnection of ownership, that I'm not responsible for my parents yelling at me like that, or what they said to me. They genuinely apologize, and then from there, if there's ability at this moment, maybe your kiddo is still a little bit upset with you. That's okay. We have to get comfortable with the discomfort of them, like, don't kind of being unhappy with what we said to them, right? That's okay. So, when you have a moment, we'll come back to it later. Like, you might still have a problem or a situation to fix or solve, but in this moment, we want to focus on reconnecting with them and getting to a place where we can do this together.
Right.
So
Yeah, I love that. So first, yeah.
No,
So
go ahead,
first,
go ahead.
like you said, self-compassion for yourself, right? Because
Yeah.
the more we beat ourselves up, the more likely we're going to blow that fuse again, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We need to
Just guilt.
first, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, like you said, really owning our behavior, that, a lot of times we get into the teen years, and if we haven't been the best model of self-regulation, then our teens are probably learning from us as well, and having really big emotions that they don't know what to do with. And like you said, those power struggles come up, and there could be a lot of blowouts.
Yep.
So we first need to model how to regulate our emotions, so that we can then help teach them the skills to
Yep.
regulate their emotions, right?
Yep. Yep.
And then modeling how to make that repair when we do miss the mark, right?
Yep.
And I love how you talked about that, how important it is to reconnect. So after you've made that repair, you want to take that time to reconnect. What
Yeah.
are some other suggestions you have for, building that connection? So let's say there has been a lot of yelling going back and forth. And you really want to make some changes, and you really want on nurturing your relationship and connection with your teen. What are some strategies you have for that?
Teens act like they don't want to have anything to do with you. But they actually do. Don't let that fool you, right? So there's that ability to be able to separate what's yours and what's theirs. This is their job. They're in this place where they're defining themselves, and independence, individuality, and all of those things. So that's what they're supposed to be doing. And also for us, it can be like, oh my gosh, like, what are they doing? And we can take it personally. We get into fear, and we want to, again, stop that. So one of the things I think that can be, well, a couple of things actually, going back to the repair. Maybe you do have a situation. Maybe they were late coming home from curfew, or what that situation might be that does need to be addressed. In this moment on a Tuesday afternoon, does it have to be addressed right here, right now, after you've had the big blowout, right? So the reconnecting, like, you're repaired, you said you're sorry, and like, listen, hey, would you like to go get some coffee? Want to go to the beach, watch the sunset? Like, that is okay to do. We don't have to solve this problem right now. And we can be like, hey, let's just kind of like go do something fun for a moment. And get that back. And here's the thing, when I really want to point out also, we can also say to your kiddo, we still have a problem, and that's fine. We'll deal with that later. Let's go have some fun. Let's go do something. This does not mean they're getting away with it. But what you're doing is you're reestablishing that connection with them. And you have an opportunity right now to listen to their perspective, right? So whether it be anything, like you can listen to a story they tell you, like you really want to get to a point where you're listening to something they have to say. That's why we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. Listen more than you talk, especially with teenagers. When our kiddos, no matter what age they are, when they really feel like we have seen their perspective, like really heard them, this is active listening. This is curiosity. This is staying quiet, even though the bells are going off, right? They are much more receptive to hear what you have to say. So when we really do want to listen to them first, we can gain so much information in that space, why they were late in the first place. Maybe there was something that came up, trusting them, right? And then we can get into like, okay, now we want to go back and solve this problem. Here's the thing. I need this. I need to know you're going to be home on time. And you need to have a little bit of flexibility with XYZ, something that you learned in your conversation. How do we come to an agreement about this before next week it shows up? Let's figure this out. Because if you have taken time to listen to their story, when you say that, they'll be more likely to collaborate with you to come to a solution. And there is so much goodness happening in there. Skills of problem solving, skills of actually listening, empathy. Like there's just listening to needs and sharing needs. Like it is so powerful. But we often skip that and we go right to solving the problem, and we're solving the problems, telling them what to do, right? And then that will create that disconnection. So I think connection is really key, especially after a blowout like that. Spending time with them, playing a game, making their favorite meal, like whatever that looks like, what brings them joy.
Right.
Spend time with them.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, so important. So another question I had is, you shared some great stories with us, and I really appreciate that. Can you share a success story from your coaching where a parent was able to, really improve their relationship after implementing some of the strategies that you talked about?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, let me share one story in particular, because she was a mom that came to me. Her daughter was 13. It was, I mean, she had just had a health situation. So there was a health situation that she had just come through. Her, relationship with her partner was kind of rocky. They were not on the same parenting page, and the daughter was very anxious, etc. And there was big blowouts about the screen, the phone, and that sort of thing. So working with her, she had so many fears about the future. She was really holding on tight, what she could wear, what she could say. Like she was just like missing a lot of what the daughter was saying to her. Like the daughter kept saying, "You just don't understand me." Our kiddos are often telling us already, right? If they're saying you don't understand me, the question is like, how am I not understanding? Please how do I understand you? Tell me what I'm doing. Like, what can I do? Right? Coming from curiosity. So we really talk about learning how to catch yourself, learning what her personal triggers were, the lack of self-care she was taking, how does she start saying no to things? She also learned boundaries. So there were boundaries of a kid or texting at work. I need to talk to you right now. So a boundary would be, hey, listen, I'll talk to you when I get home.
Right.
She's like, she literally is like, I didn't know I could do that. I'm like, of course you can do that. But that feels terrible because we're supposed to be that mom that's available all the time. But here you are, you're at work. It's not a 911 situation. She's just like getting on you. And you can say, I will not answer. I will talk to you when I get home. Like that is a boundary. So she learned how to set some firm boundaries, how to say no, take care of herself, approach with curiosity, learning how to own her own mistakes. And it was incredible. Her daughter's now 17. I get photos of them together. They enjoy each other's company. She did also learn how to just spend time with her and not be always worrying about all the things, talking about school, asking all the questions. Did you do your homework? Did you do school? What are you going to do about swim? What are you going to do? Like, just question about all the doing and just be with her.
Right.
And yes, she is one of my biggest success stories now. She's like, this is us today. Thank you so much. And it's so beautiful. It really, it makes me so happy because I know, as you know, when parents do this, the effects are so long reaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that because it shows that it's never too late, right?
Yeah,
I think a lot of parents feel like, oh, my kids are already teens. It's too late to change behaviors. But it's never too late, right?
Never too late. Yeah, no.
So what are some last thoughts as we start to wrap up? Some last thoughts, and maybe something that you wanted to make sure that our listeners hear today about, some strategies that could be helpful.
Oh gosh, if I had to leave you with one, it really is to know and trust that you are doing way better than you think you are. We tend to focus on the one mistake we made during the day, right? You yelled or you blew it or whatever, and that's all you can think about. That's all you can think about. And then what is the one thing that most people do when they go to bed? They think about how much they blew it or what they didn't do or what they didn't accomplish or all the things. I'm not doing enough and I'm failing, and these are all thoughts. However, I really want to leave you with an exercise of that. Yes, that's true. Maybe you did lose your cool. I'm not going to dismiss that. And also, in the other 12 hours of your day, there were so many things you did right. Right, for your kids? There were so many things you did right. So before you go to sleep, take a moment to scan your day. And I want you to think of 3 things you did well today. And it might just mean that you put 2 feet on the floor, you made it through the day, okay? Or maybe you fed chicken nuggets for the 3rd time in a row. That's fine, you fed your kids, right? So I really don't want to dismiss the hard that is happening. However, don't dismiss those little things because they mean more than you know, and you're doing way better than you think you are. Find those 3 things that you did well and say, you know what? I did a good job today. And when you start practicing that, you're going to see the goodness that's there. It might be the little kiss on the forehead, little things, but celebrate those. That's what I was saying.
I love that. Yes, because the mom guilt is so real. So we need to implement that practice of what we're doing right and being, acknowledging ourselves and having that self-compassion. So wonderful. All right, Claire, how can our viewers find you?
Oh gosh. Well, the best place to find me right now is on Instagram, Claire Chetty, Parent Coach. On Instagram, I'm there. You can DM me, you can reach me. I'm active on there, every day. And also on my website, ccparentcoach.com. 2 best places to go.
Wonderful. Yes. And you definitely need to catch her Instagram. She's got so many great posts on there. I love it.
It's a fun community over there. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being there. And for the rest of you as well, please catch me on my socials and website at empoweredparenting.family. And if you haven't grabbed a copy of my book yet, my book here, The Power of Everyday Grace, Parenting Teens with Depression. So it is available on Amazon. So grab your copy. And if you guys have, any questions for Claire after watching the replay will be on YouTube, iHeartRadio, or Spotify. Let us know in the community any questions that you may have, and we can answer that. And thank you so much for being here, Claire. And thank you our viewers.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You have a great day. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
This has been Kicking Your Teens' Troubles to the Curb with host Christina Nation. Each week, as Christina features expert interviews, real-life stories, and practical strategies that empower parents to connect with their teens and effectively address their struggles. Here, Tuesdays, 11 a.m. Eastern, on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.